Hello, my name is Jerusalem Greer, and I'm the staff officer for evangelism for the Episcopal Church, a member of the Way of Love creative team, and an intentional small group leader in my own local parish. In this video, I'm going to walk through a few frequently asked questions around small groups, questions we've heard more regularly since the launch of the Way of Love resources. So, what is an intentional small group? An intentional small group is a gathering of people, usually 8 to 12, who come together around a faith practice, a set of other practices or tasks, and a commitment to building transformative relationships during their time together. These groups can meet weekly or monthly in churches, homes, or out in the community. They can be intergenerational or focused on people in a common stage of life. Most importantly, they consist of people who care for each other's spiritual development. Small group experiences might already be built into your spiritual life if you're part of ministries like Education for Ministry, Servant Leadership, Daughters of the King, the Brotherhood of St. Andrew, or Bible study groups, or even your vestry. Not every small group within a church is an intentional small group. With a little bit of planning and a lot of intentionality, all groups can be. Why do some small groups meet in homes? Small groups that meet in homes are often called home groups. Hosting the group in a member's home can offer a more personal and relaxed environment for its members, who may gather around a shared meal. This model is inspired by the gatherings of the early church, as mentioned in Acts 2:46. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts. Do small groups replace Sunday morning worship? Absolutely not. Just as the early church still attended worship at the temple and then met in homes, small groups enhance worship by building deeper relationships between parishioners. When you're part of a small group and come to church on Sunday morning, you might find that instead of sitting next to people you only know casually, you'll find yourself sitting next to family. Many small group members begin attending Sunday morning services more often because they look forward to sharing the experience with those they have grown close to in their small groups. In other words, intentional small groups help create a sense of belonging, something we all long for. How does our tradition show up in a small group? The first way our tradition shows up in a small group is when we show up. We are the Episcopal Church, so wherever we go, the Episcopal Church is present. This is why it is so important for everyone, whether you've been in the pews for 40 years or 4 weeks, to participate. We need the experience and understanding of those deeply rooted in our tradition to help with the questions of those who are new to the church. And we need the fresh perspective and excitement that our newest members bring. Additionally, the Episcopal tradition can show up all over small group meetings, from using the Book of Common Prayer for worship to special seasonal offerings from the liturgical calendar to any number of other practices. But don't just take my word for it. Let's hear from a parish in Central Arkansas who has a fairly new yet thriving small group ministry.
St. Peter's has established itself as a bit of a sanctuary for people here that have been negatively or adversely affected by an evangelical tradition. So I see the small group ministry as kind of the engine that's allowing us to do a lot of innovation and creativity here at St. Peter's.
So my name is Drew Spurgers, and my husband Kevin and I ended up at St. Peter's after leaving the evangelical church we've been at for some time. And we didn't leave on bad terms or anything like that. It just became clearer and clearer to us as we were about to get married that that was not going to be the place for us to be forever. When we started looking, we sent emails to a few different churches locally and had a church actually tell us that we were not welcome. Had a couple that just didn't respond. One that responded kind of as you'd expect, just like, yeah, we'd love to have you if you're interested, here's service times. And then the last was St. Peter's. And when they responded, it was actually the priest at the time, Terry, and she responded and said, hey, we'd love to just get coffee and talk with you. At the end of our time, I just remember like this overwhelming feeling of warmth and like these people actually cared about us, which was fantastic.
The small group ministry has been a real center point of the dynamism that we're experiencing at St. Peter's. And I think it grows out of just the ability to connect one-on-one between various individuals within the organization.
I always knew that I loved to be an Episcopalian. I've gone to other churches, I've visited other churches. I've always felt comfortable, but I didn't really know a lot about being an Episcopalian, because when you're a cradle Episcopal, your parents tell you to do it and you do it. And so they've enriched my spirit more than they could have ever known. They've become my tribe.
Small groups have been a huge part of St. Peter's for us, and it's been a very integral part. We certainly wouldn't be as connected as we are without small groups.
I feel more confident in my faith. It's not just a personal thing anymore. I have confidence that there's a reason that I love the Episcopal Church, and it's not just because I was raised in it. You can ask any of my friends, I'm like, oh, I'm going to small group today. It's the most exciting part of my week. It really is in my faith. So.
I mean, I remember going home one night after small group and sitting down with Kevin and just saying, like, where would we be without this group? Which was just insane to think that, you know, it's been less than a year and this already feels like some of the most important, integral people in our lives.
Why does this matter for my life? Part of living the way of love is to continue in the Apostles' teaching and fellowship, both of which are an essential part of any healthy, intentional small group. Following the model of Jesus himself, all Christians should be living out their faith as individuals, as members of a local church, and within an intentional small group community. We believe that when we take the time to establish and attend intentional small groups, we are better able to grow as communities following the loving, liberating, life-giving way of Jesus, a way that has the power to change each of our lives and to change the world. How can we begin an intentional small group? There are many ways to begin an intentional small group ministry in your church. First, consider what groups already exist: a vestry, a choir, an altar guild. Would it be possible for those groups to begin pursuing transformative relationships and incorporating Jesus-centered practices into their gatherings, using resources tailored to the group's mission? It might be worth considering. A second option is to begin an intentional small group ministry using the tips and teaching found in Living the Way of Love and Community, a 9-session small group study. The curriculum, based on the Way of Love's practices of turn, learn, pray, worship, bless, go, and rest, includes more than just 9-session guides. It also includes wonderful instructions on how to structure and launch an intentional small group. While we know that this video is not the exhaustive authority on how to host or participate in an intentional small group ministry, we hope that we have answered some of your questions and inspired you to build those transformative relationships in your congregation and community. Living the way of love means we go together, helping each other to grow into all God intends us to be. Thank you.